Matthew 14. At that time Herod the Tetrarch heard the report concerning Jesus, and said to his servants, "This is John the Baptist. He is risen from the dead, and therefore do these powers work in him." For Herod had arrested John, and bound him, and put him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife. For John had said to him, "It is not lawful for you to have her." And though he wanted to put him to death, he feared the people, because they held him to be a prophet. But at Herod's birthday party, the daughter of Herodias danced before all, and pleased Herod. Whereupon he promised with an oath to give her whatever she should ask. And she, being encouraged by her mother, said, "Give me here the head of John the Baptist on a platter." And the king was grieved, but for the sake of his oaths and of his dinner guests, he commanded it to be given. He sent word and had John beheaded in the prison, and his head was brought on a platter and given to the girl, and she brought it to her mother. And his disciples came and took away the corpse and buried him, and they went and told Jesus. Now when Jesus heard this, he withdrew from there in a boat to a deserted place to be alone. But when the crowds heard, they followed him on foot from the cities. When he went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion on them, and healed their sick. And when evening had come, the disciples came to him, saying, "This place is deserted, and the day is now over. Send the crowds away, that they may go into the villages and buy for themselves food." But Jesus said to them, "They need not go away. You give them something to eat." And they say to him, "We have here only 5 loaves and 2 fishes." And he said, "Bring them here to me." And he commanded the crowds to sit down on the grass. And he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and broke and gave the loaves to the disciples, and the disciples to the crowds. And they all ate and were filled, and they collected what was left over of the broken pieces, 12 baskets full. And they that ate, besides women and children, were about 5,000 men. Immediately he made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side of the sea, while he dismissed the crowds. And after he had dismissed the crowds, he went up the mountain by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone. But the boat was now in the middle of the sea, beaten by the waves, for the wind was against them. And in the 4th watch of the night he came to them, walking upon the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were disturbed, saying, "It is a ghost." And they cried out for fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, "Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid." And Peter answered and said, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you by walking on the water." And he said, "Come." And Peter got out of the boat and walked upon the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind was strong, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, saying, "Lord, save me." And immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and took hold of him, and said to him, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?" And when they boarded the boat, the wind ceased. And they that were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Of a truth you are the Son of God." And when they had crossed over, they came to the land of Gennesaret. And when the men of that place recognized him, they sent word to all in that region, and brought to him all who were sick. And they pleaded with him that they might only touch the fringe of his garment. And as many as touched it were made well.